everybody, my name is Carmen and welcome to the show. Well, recently I went home to Wisconsin and had the rude awakening of snow. You know, living in California, you forget about what snow is all about. And so I had it in real life, and I also found a great inspiration for this page. While digging around at home, I found some pictures of me and my brother with snow way above our heads, and so I wanted to create a chilly cold page using metallic embellishments, alcohol inks, and other paint techniques. Stick around, we're gonna have a lot of fun. For creating a snow page, I wanted to create snowflakes, and I wanted to have the page have a cold feel to it. I decided to use the 10 Second Studio's 35mm aluminum sheets. Now what I did is I cut a rectangle that is 11 inches by 6 inches wide. And then I used a refining tool right here, which on one end has a metal tip and on the other end has a plastic tip. And I just created grid marks to create the formatting for my frame. Now, really simply, with the thin foam mat and a plexiglass, I'm going to lay that down and put it down. And the lines that I've already delineated, I'm going to go ahead and mark them out with the refining tool. And just line everything out like I already did. Then you want to flip it over and refine it by taking away the foam, leaving the plexiglass underneath it, because now you have the hard surface happening underneath. And then you're just going to use the same refining tip to just give yourself a little bit more pop to your actual design. Now I wanted to use snowflakes, right? Obviously it's a snow page. So I decided to use this great brass stencil. And you can use it for paint, and you can also use it for embossing and debossing. So for this page, I want the snowflakes to be raised out. So I'm going to work from the back side. And in this center piece here, I've got a bunch of different choices here of stencils and different patterns, but I went consistently with this one because to me it looked most like a snowflake. So I'm just going to center it right here, just lightly and gently pushing in to wherever the stencil is exposed. So you're actually revealing your design of your snowflake by pressing in to wherever the stencil allows you to. So once we've done that, we're going to flip it over, take out the foam, leave the plexi underneath, then press down from the front, so then you're defining the design from the front. And look at how quickly and easily it all just comes to life right there. Just like that. So now that we've got all of our tooling done on this page, what I want to do now is give it some color and some dimension. And I'm using the Ranger Adirondack inks with an applicator. And you can do one of two things, and we're actually going to combine both. You can take your alcohol ink and just spread it on wherever you'd like, just like that. Or you can actually put it right onto the applicator tool here. And then you're just going to lightly tap the page, because what I wanted it to look like is as if the snow had melted, like ice had melted over the page. And the great thing about alcohol inks is that you can layer them. You can even go back and add some more in places. But keep in mind, when you apply alcohol ink on an alcohol ink that's wet, what's it doing? It's separating it. It actually pushes the wet stuff away so that you get more open holes than that you're actually applying. You think you're going to be adding more, but the chemical reaction between one as it's drying and you're putting the other one, it disperses it, which is kind of fun. And as you can see, I'm actually incorporating it into the design. So now we're going to let that dry. What we're going to do now is I've actually cut an X right down the center of it, and I'm going to use my fingers to pry it open, just like that. I'm just going to fold back each corner so that's actually going to reveal the journaling message that I'm going to place underneath on the page. Doesn't that look awesome? And what it does now is it gives you the contrast of the metal against the blue. Once I've got it rolled up here like that, then you can play with it if you want to smash it down a little bit. You can open them up a little bit. You can put it askew. And we're going to set that aside for our next element. And that is more metal tooling. And what I did here is I took just a regular plastic stencil that you would normally use to paint, and I used that as the template, and I quickly used my refining tool, the metal tip, and I just scratched out the template lightly as if it was a pencil, not pressing down very hard at all, until I actually then had the image traced out. Then I'm going to use the plexiglass, the thin foam mat, and I'm going to put it down. And now I'm going to flip ends, and I'm going to use the plastic tip. And I'm actually then going to etch out my design, pressing lightly, but not too lightly, but not too hard because you don't want to punch through the metal. Just press it through all the way until you get all of your lines lined out. Then you want to flip over, and wherever you have your lines done, then you want to go back and refine to either side to make the lines actually pop all the way through, just like that. Now if I did the whole pattern, then I would have it look just like this. Now all I did is I did the whole design from the back, then I turned it over, I refined it, and then I freehanded some lines down the middle so we get our final pattern. And then I took the final pattern and I actually put alcohol ink on it. Instead of using the dabbing tool, I just put a lot of ink on it, pulled it around, let it move around, and actually let it dry like this. Once it's like this and it's dry, the great thing about this 10 seconds 35 millimeter aluminum sheet is that you can also cut it very easily with a scissors. And once we get this all cut out, we have our second snowflake element. And I'm going to set that aside. And now the fun begins. We get to do some paint. But not only are we painting, we are using the Mask Pen by Mask Pen. Now this little item right here is a surprising little bottle because you can do what I consider almost magic. You can actually mark out or mask out the areas that you don't want to have painted on so that you can actually leave designs behind. Now the great thing about this Mask Pen is that it comes with two different nibs at the very end. It has a beveled edge on it so you get a nice application, and you can either use the fine tip or the regular one. Now I'm using the regular one since I have such bold statements, and all you want to do is just like that, and I almost wanted to create snowflakes. Nothing perfect because this is all going to dry, and later on we're going to show you how we're going to reveal it, but it's as simple as that. And I'm going to let that dry. And from my guesstimation, it's anywhere from about a half an hour to an hour, depending on how thick it is that you put your little spacings down. Now, we're ready to watercolor. So I'm keeping with the blue tones. I'm wetting my brush here, and I'm putting a lot of blue paint on, a lot of blue paint, and it's just watercolor, and I'm using watercolor paper. I'm just going to smash it on and just keep adding more water, because the beautiful thing about watercolor is you see how it looks like it's pooling? Later on when it dries, those are the parts that actually become really beautiful, and you're just going to add a little bit more paint. And you can go with dark colors, you can go with lighter colors, and we're just going to set that aside and let it dry. And when it's all done, this is what it looks like. Now as you can see here, I've already removed the Mask Pen, the ink that was dried behind, but look at how awesome this is. All you need to do is with your finger, you're just going to rub back, and it just comes right off. See that? It just comes right off. You want to make sure your fingers are clean and just rub it back, and look at how it reveals. And it literally does what the Mask Pen says it's going to do. It masked out where you don't want paint to be. So we're going to set that aside because there's our other element. And I took the same embossing tool, created a stencil, gave it an edge. We left that, and we're going to put those here right now. So now we're ready to put the page together. Now I start out with this great blue canvas paper by Fiber Mark. They have a ton of great paper that's has material texture to it. I mean really cool like faux leathers and faux peacock and just a lot of really awesome textures. For this page I'm using the blue canvas one, mostly because I absolutely love the color and also because I wanted to stencil on the page and I wanted the stencil to actually also have some texture and some depth. So now we've got the sheet and now we get to put the elements together. We're going to first put down our watercolor backing that we used the Mask Pen on, and then I've got here just a little bit of self-adhesive tape on the back. I'm going to lay that down. Remember how I said you could play with it earlier, see how my design's a little lost here? The beautiful thing is I can curl that back, and I can also curl back these sides so that we can show a little bit more of that. And now what I did is I wrote a little ditty about snow, and I just found a really fun font. I put it into a box. I found a vellum that has little white polka dots that to me resembled snow as well. And I'm just going to put that right on into here. And I wanted to use vellum because I still wanted to have the blues of the watercolor kind of come through there. And then I have a great picture here of me and my brother. We're going to center that here over the snowflakes. So the snowflakes seem like they're kind of coming down and falling down around it. And then the little corner pieces here, I'm going to put those in place. And then the very last element of the page is our grand snowflake right here, which is going to go into the page there. And so here we have the finished page. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, as long as it's on the page and not in Southern California. I love my snow, but we'll keep it in Wisconsin. I hope you enjoyed it. Metallic embellishments, alcohol ink, and a lot of fun with snow. Take care.
For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.